A single mother accepts a job as the caregiver for a millionaire's wheelchair-bound twin boys. As she transforms the boys' lives, strange incidents and mysteries begin to unfold within the mansion. If this story caught your interest, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and let us know which city you're watching from. Stay tuned. The wheels of Olivia Brennan's weathered Toyota crunched on the gravel driveway as she approached the imposing gates of Whitecliff Manor. The sprawling estate stood like a sentinel against the moody backdrop, its stone facade and towering columns a stark contrast to the lush, untamed forest that surrounded it. The mansion was a monument to wealth and isolation. Olivia gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. At 42, the lines on her face told stories of sacrifice and resilience, each crease a chapter of a life spent giving more than she received. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, a few rebellious strands framing her face. She glanced at the rearview mirror, catching the reflection of her 16-year-old daughter, Lily. "Are you sure about this, Mum?" Lily asked, her voice quiet but steady. She had her mother's eyes, perceptive and kind, but carried herself with a confidence Olivia had never possessed at that age. "We need this," Olivia replied, the simplicity of her answer masking the complexity of their situation. 6 months. Without steady work had drained their savings, and the offer from Whitecliff Manor, a position as a caregiver to twin boys with competitive pay and accommodation, had appeared like a lifeline thrown to someone barely treading water. The gates opened automatically, as if sensing her desperation. As they drove up the winding path, Lily gazed in wonder at the manicured gardens and the crystalline fountain that served as the centerpiece of the circular driveway. "It looks like something from a movie," she whispered, pressing her palm against the window. But Olivia felt a flicker of unease. Beautiful things often concealed ugly truths, a lesson she'd learned the hard way during her years as a nurse at Mercy General Hospital, before everything changed, before she lost everything she'd worked for. The car came to a stop, and they were greeted by a tall, angular man with impeccable posture. Alfred Winters, the butler, had a face carved from granite and eyes that missed nothing. "Miss Brennan," he said with a slight bow. "Mr. Bally is expecting you. Please follow me." Olivia and Lily trailed behind him, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous entrance hall. The interior of Whitecliff Manor was as impressive as its exterior. High ceilings adorned with intricate moldings, walls lined with paintings that probably cost more than Olivia would make in a lifetime, and floors of polished marble that reflected their uncertain faces. Alfred led them to a study, where the afternoon light filtered through large windows, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. Behind a massive oak desk sat Ethan Bally, founder and CEO of Bally Pharmaceuticals. At 48, he carried the weight of his success like armor, expensive suit, perfectly trimmed salt and pepper hair, and eyes that calculated worth with a single glance. "Ms. Brennan," he said, not rising from his chair, "thank you for your punctuality." Olivia stepped forward, extending her hand. "Mr. Bally, thank you for this opportunity." He shook her hand briefly, his touch cool and businesslike. "Your credentials are impressive. Former head nurse at Mercy General's Pediatric Intensive Care, I assume you're comfortable with complex medical needs." "Yes, sir," Olivia replied, not mentioning how her career had been abruptly severed 5 years ago, how she'd been branded unreliable, troublemaker, whistleblower, how doors had closed one after another, until she'd had to reinvent herself as a private caregiver. Ethan nodded, then finally acknowledged Lily with a slight tilt of his head. "And this is your daughter?" "Lily," Olivia confirmed. "As we discussed over the phone, she'll be staying with me in the caretaker's quarters." Something flickered across Ethan's face, reluctance perhaps, but it was gone as quickly as it came. "Very well. Alfred will show you to your rooms and introduce you to the staff and the boys." He turned his attention back to the documents on his desk, a clear dismissal. Alfred guided them through corridors lined with photographs, family portraits where smiles seemed more practiced than genuine. Olivia noticed one photograph larger, then the rest, a beautiful woman with flowing blonde hair and a gentle smile. Catherine Bally, Ethan's late wife. Something about her eyes felt hauntingly familiar, but Olivia couldn't place why. Mrs. Bally passed away 3 years ago, Alfred explained, noticing Olivia's gaze. A tragedy that changed everything in this house. They continued to the East Wing, where they met Eleanor Pierce, the stern-faced housekeeper, whose tight smile didn't reach her eyes, and Marcus Green, the gardener who tipped his hat in greeting, but said nothing. The staff keeps to themselves, Alfred explained. Privacy is valued highly at Whitecliff Manor. Finally, they reached a sunlit room where 2 identical boys sat in wheelchairs, facing a large bay window that overlooked the gardens. Both had their father's strong features and their mother's blonde hair, but that's where the similarities ended. One boy's posture was rigid, defiant, while the other slouched slightly, his gaze downcast. "This is Alexander and Benjamin Bally," Alfred announced. "Young masters, this is Miss Brennan, your new caregiver, and her daughter, Lily." Alexander, the defiant one, turned his wheelchair to face them. At 12 years old, his eyes held the weariness of someone much older. "We don't need a babysitter," he said coldly. "We've had 3 already this year." Benjamin remained silent, his fingers tracing invisible patterns on the arm of his wheelchair. Olivia approached them both, kneeling to meet their eye level. "I'm not a babysitter, Alexander. I'm a caregiver. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" he challenged. "A babysitter watches. A caregiver helps you grow." She shifted her attention to Benjamin, offering a gentle smile. "I'm looking forward to getting to know both of you." Benjamin finally looked up, his expression unreadable. His gaze moved past Olivia to Lily, who stood awkwardly by the door. For a brief moment, something like curiosity flickered in his eyes. "Your rooms are through here," Alfred said, gesturing to a door that connected to a modest but comfortable apartment. "You'll find everything you need. The boys' schedules are on the desk, along with their medical information." Once alone in their new quarters, Lily sat on the edge of her bed, hugging her knees to her chest. "Those boys seem so sad, Mom." Olivia unpacked their meager belongings, hanging up the few nice clothes they owned. "They've been through a lot, losing their mother, dealing with their condition." "What exactly happened to them?" Lily asked. "An accident 2 years ago," Olivia replied, carefully folding a sweater. "They were both injured severely. The details weren't shared with me." That night, as Lily slept, Olivia sat at the small desk reviewing the boys' medical files. Complex spinal injuries, multiple surgeries, ongoing physical therapy. But it was a note in Benjamin's file that caught her attention. "Patient exhibits selective mutism since the accident. Psychological evaluation recommended." A soft knock at the door startled her. When she opened it, she found the corridor empty, but a folded piece of paper lay on the threshold. Opening it, she found a message written in an elegant, feminine hand. "You don't belong here, neither of you do. If you know what's good for you, you'll leave before history repeats itself." Olivia's blood ran cold as she crumpled the note in her fist. She'd faced intimidation before at the hospital, when she'd tried to speak up about negligence, when she'd tried to protect patients like Catherine Bally. Catherine Bally. The name echoed in her mind as a distant memory tried to surface. She'd seen that face before, not just in the photographs lining the hallway. Returning to the desk, Olivia pulled out her own worn leather journal from the bottom of her suitcase. Flipping through the pages of her past life, she stopped at an entry from 6 years ago. A patient's name, a decision that haunted her, a choice that had cost her everything. Outside her window, the gardens of Whitecliff Manor lay in darkness, shadows moving with the wind. Somewhere in the house a door closed quietly. Olivia shivered, suddenly aware of how vulnerable they were, her and Lily, in this house of secrets. But they needed this job, needed the security it provided, and perhaps something inside whispered. The Bally twins needed her too, even if they didn't know it yet, even if the house itself seemed determined to reject her presence. Tomorrow she would begin her work in earnest. Tomorrow she would start breaking down the walls that surrounded Alexander and Benjamin. Tomorrow she would take the first steps into a house where silence was currency, and the past was a ghost that refused to rest. For tonight, though, she tucked the threatening note into her journal and slipped it back into her suitcase. Whatever secrets Whitecliff Manor held, Olivia Brennan had secrets of her own, and some were worth protecting at all costs. The morning light spilled through the tall windows of Whitecliff Manor's east wing as Olivia entered the twins' shared bedroom. After a week at the mansion, she was beginning to understand its rhythms, the way sound traveled through the high ceilings, how the old pipes groaned at precisely 6:15 a.m., and how the staff moved through the halls, like ghosts, appearing and disappearing without warning. "Rise and shine, gentlemen," she announced, drawing back the heavy curtains. Alexander groaned and pulled his blanket over his head, while Benjamin watched her with those quiet, observant eyes. "Today's schedule includes physical therapy at 10, followed by tutoring," Olivia continued, moving efficiently around the room. She'd quickly established a routine with the boys, trying to bring structure to their days that had apparently been lacking with previous caregivers. "I don't want to do therapy today," Alexander muttered from beneath his blanket fortress. "It's pointless." Olivia sat on the edge of his bed. 3 months ago, you couldn't lift your right arm above your shoulder. Now you can. "That's not pointless, Alexander." The boy emerged, his blonde hair tousled, face set in a scowl that couldn't quite mask the vulnerability beneath. "It's Alex, not Alexander. Only Dad calls me that. And Benjamin is Ben." Olivia nodded, accepting the correction. "All right, Alex. And you, Ben. Ready to start the day?" Ben nodded once, his communication limited to gestures and expressions. According to his file, he hadn't spoken a word since the accident, though the doctors found no physical reason for his silence. After helping the boys with their morning routines, a delicate process that preserved their dignity while providing necessary assistance, Olivia wheeled them to the breakfast room. Ethan Bally was already there, hidden behind the Wall Street Journal, a cup of coffee cooling beside him. "Good morning, Mr. Bally," Olivia greeted, positioning the boys' wheelchairs at the table. Ethan lowered his newspaper, his eyes moving from Olivia to his sons. "Morning," he replied tersely. "I'll be in San Francisco until Thursday. The Collins merger is proving complicated." Alex stabbed at his pancakes with unnecessary force. "You're always gone." "I'm working, Alexander," Ethan said, his tone carrying a warning. "Bally Pharmaceuticals doesn't run itself." "Mom would have stayed," Alex murmured, too low for his father to hear, but Olivia caught it. Ethan checked his watch and stood. "Eleanor will drive the boys to their therapy session. Miss Brennan, I'd like a word before I leave." He led her to his study, closing the door with a soft click. "How are they doing, honestly?" Olivia chose her words carefully. "Physically, they're making progress, especially Alex, but emotionally. There's a lot of pain there, Mr. Bally. Pain that needs addressing." "They have a therapist," Ethan replied dismissively. "Once a week for an hour isn't enough," Olivia countered, then hesitated before adding, "and they need their father." Ethan's expression hardened. "I'm doing the best I can. Not all of us have the luxury of—" He stopped himself, turning to look out the window. "Just do your job, Miss Brennan. That's what I'm paying you for." As he walked past her to leave, Olivia caught a whiff of his cologne, expensive, with notes of sandalwood and something else she couldn't quite place. For a brief moment their eyes met, and she saw something unexpected, fear. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual mask of cool detachment. After Ethan departed and the boys were taken to therapy, Olivia found herself with a few hours to explore. The vastness of Whitecliff Manor still intimidated her, with its endless rooms and corridors that seemed to shift and change when she wasn't looking. In the main sitting room, she encountered Eleanor, dusting a collection of crystal figurines with meticulous attention. "The boys seem to be responding well to you," Eleanor remarked, not looking up from her task. "Better than the others." "Others?" Olivia prompted. 3 caregivers in the past year," Eleanor elaborated. "None lasted more than 2 months. One left in the middle of the night without even collecting her final paycheck." Olivia thought of the threatening note she'd received her first night. Did any of them mention why? Eleanor's hand paused over a crystal swan. "This house, It has a way of making people feel unwelcome, especially since Mrs. Bally passed. What was she like? Olivia asked, carefully testing the waters. Something softened in Eleanor's stern features. Catherine was sunshine in human form. The boys adored her. Mr. Bally was different when she was alive, less cold. And the accident. That injured the boys. Eleanor's expression shuttered immediately. That's not my place to discuss. If you'll excuse me, I have duties to attend to. As Eleanor left, Olivia noticed Marcus, the gardener, working outside the window. He moved with quiet efficiency among the roses, which were beginning to bloom in vibrant clusters. Stepping outside, she approached him. "They're beautiful," she commented, gesturing to the flowers. Marcus straightened, wiping his hands on his pants. Mrs. Bally's favorites. Red auroras. She called them her living heartbeats. It was the most she'd heard him speak since arriving. "You've been here a long time?" Olivia asked. He nodded. 20 years. Seen a lot of changes. Not all for the better. The accident with the boys wasn't an accident, Marcus interrupted, his voice dropping to a whisper. His weathered face held the gravity of a man carrying a heavy secret. "But that's not something you should be asking about, Miss Brennan. Some stones are better left unturned." Before she could press further, Lily appeared, jogging across the lawn. Her cheeks were flushed, her smile bright. "Mum, Ben showed me the treehouse at the edge of the property. It's amazing." Olivia blinked in surprise. "Ben took you there?" "Well, he didn't talk," Lily clarified. "But he wrote me a note asking if I wanted to see it, and Eleanor took us. Alex didn't want to come." Marcus excused himself, returning to his gardening with renewed focus. "Ben wrote to you?" Olivia repeated, intrigued by this development. "That's wonderful, Lily. He hasn't communicated much with anyone since the accident." Later that afternoon, Olivia found Ben alone in the library, a book of astronomy open on his lap. She sat beside him, respecting his space while making herself available. "Lily mentioned you showed her the treehouse," she said softly. "That was kind of you." Ben's fingers traced the image of a constellation on the page. After a moment, he reached for a notepad beside him and wrote in neat, precise handwriting, "She's nice. Different." "Different how?" Olivia asked. "She doesn't look at us like we're broken." The simple honesty of his response made Olivia's heart ache. She thought of her own past, of the times she'd been viewed as problematic rather than principled. Being broken isn't the worst thing, Ben. It means you were once whole, and you can be again. Just maybe in a different way. His eyes, so like his mother's in the photographs, studied her with an intensity that seemed to look straight through her carefully constructed facade. That evening, as Olivia was helping Alex prepare for bed, he suddenly asked, "Why are you really here?" She paused in the act of adjusting his pillows. "To take care of you and Ben." "No," Alex insisted, his young face serious beyond his years. "The other caregivers were just doing a job. You're looking for something, I can tell." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine at the boy's perception. "What makes you say that? You ask questions about Mom, about the accident. You went through Dad's study when you thought no one was watching." Heat rushed to Olivia's face. She had indeed slipped into Ethan's study one afternoon, drawn by an inexplicable compulsion to understand more about Catherine Bally. "I'm just trying to understand your family better so I can help you." Alex's expression was skeptical. "No one can help us? Not really." "I don't believe that," Olivia replied firmly. "And I don't think you do either, or you wouldn't be trying. Are so hard in your physical therapy." A ghost of a smile touched Alex's lips. "Maybe I just want to be able to punch Dad when he deserves it." Olivia suppressed a laugh. "That's not a very productive goal." "But it's mine," Alex replied, a spark of the spirited boy he must have been before the accident shining through. After both boys were asleep, Olivia returned to her quarters to find Lily already in bed, a notebook open beside her. "Working on a story?" Olivia asked, knowing her daughter's passion for writing. "Sort of," Lily replied, closing the notebook quickly. "Just some thoughts." Olivia sat on the edge of the bed. "You've been spending a lot of time with Ben. Are you okay with that? I know it can be difficult when someone doesn't speak. Lily twirled a strand of hair around her finger, a habit from childhood. He communicates in other ways, and he's teaching me chess. Did you know he's like really good? He told me, well, wrote to me, that his mom taught him. And Alex? Have you spent time with him too? Lily's expression clouded. He doesn't like me. He glares whenever I'm around Ben like I'm stealing his brother or something. Olivia wasn't surprised. The twins' relationship was complex, fiercely protective yet tinged with tension. Give him time. This is all new for everyone. After Lily fell asleep, Olivia retrieved her laptop and opened a private browser window. She hesitated before typing Catherine Bally Death Bally Pharmaceuticals into the search bar. The results were sanitized. Respectful obituaries mentioning a brief illness, charity foundations established in her memory, and statements from Ethan about his wife's legacy. Nothing about the truth. Nothing about what Olivia suspected had happened. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging, you're putting your daughter at risk. Olivia nearly dropped the phone, her heart racing. Looking out the window into the darkness, she had the distinct sensation of being watched. Quickly closing the laptop, she moved to check that the door was locked, then drew the curtains tight. But as she lay in bed that night, sleep eluded her. The text message, the hostile note, Marcus's cryptic warning, all pointed to something buried beneath the perfect surface of Whitecliff Manor, something that connected Catherine Bally's passing, the boy's accident, and Olivia's own disgrace at Mercy General Hospital 5 years ago. And somewhere in the vast house behind one of its many closed doors lay answers that someone was desperate to keep hidden. Answers that Olivia was beginning to believe were the real reason she had been drawn to this place, not by coincidence, but by design. The question that haunted her as she finally drifted into an uneasy sleep was simple, yet terrifying. Who had orchestrated her arrival at Whitecliff Manor, and why? 1 month into her employment at Whitecliff Manor, Olivia stood at the kitchen window watching as Lily pushed Ben's wheelchair through the garden paths. The spring flowers were in full bloom, painting the landscape in vibrant colors that contrasted sharply with the mansion's somber atmosphere. In the distance, Alex sat alone by the fountain, deliberately separate from his twin and Lily. "They've taken quite a shine to your daughter," Alfred observed, appearing silently beside Olivia with his uncanny ability to materialize out of thin air. "Ben has," Olivia corrected. Alex still keeps his distance. Alfred's expression remained impassive, but his eyes softened slightly. Master Alexander guards his heart carefully, much like his father. Speaking of Ethan Bally, the man had been even more absent than usual, his business trip stretching longer with each passing week. On the rare occasions he was home, he barricaded himself in his study, emerging only for brief, stilted interactions with his sons. "Mr. Bally doesn't seem very involved in the boys' lives," Olivia remarked, testing Alfred's loyalty. "Grief affects people differently, Miss Brennan," Alfred replied diplomatically. "The master lost his wife and nearly lost his sons. Some find comfort in work." "And some find excuses," Olivia murmured, too softly for Alfred to hear. The butler cleared his throat. "I came to inform you that Mr. Bally will be returning this evening with a guest, Ms. Vivian Carter, his business partner." Olivia had heard the name before, a shrewd pharmaceutical executive who had helped build Bally Pharmaceuticals from a promising startup into a billion-dollar corporation. "Should I keep the boys out of the way?" Something like disapproval flickered across Alfred's face. "Perhaps it would be best. Ms. Carter isn't particularly comfortable around the young masters." Later that afternoon, Olivia was helping Ben with his reading exercises when Alex wheeled himself into the room, his expression stormy. "Dad's bringing her home again," he spat. "Miss Carter?" Olivia asked. "You know her well?" "She hated Mom," Alex stated flatly, "always hanging around Dad, touching his arm, laughing too loud at his jokes. Mom was polite, but she knew. We all knew." Ben's hands clenched into fists on the arms of his wheelchair, his silent endorsement of his brother's assessment. "And now she visits whenever she wants," Alex continued bitterly. "Sits in Mum's chair at dinner, Uses Mum's study like it's hers. Olivia processed this information carefully. Your father and Ms. Carter are business partners. They need to work together. Is that what they call it? Alex's voice was razor sharp, with sarcasm beyond his years. They were working together when Mum was in the hospital too. Dad missed saying goodbye to her because he was at some emergency meeting with Vivian. Ben suddenly reached for his notepad, writing furiously. She wants us gone. What do you mean, Ben? Olivia asked, alarmed. She told Dad we should be in a facility where professionals can handle us. The implications chilled Olivia to the bone. If Vivian Carter had Ethan's ear, if she was influencing his decisions about the boy's care. That's not going to happen, Olivia assured them both. How your father loves you, does he? Alex challenged. He can barely look at us since the accident, especially Ben. Before Olivia could respond, Lily burst into the room, her face flushed with excitement. Mom, I found something incredible in the library. What is it, honey? Olivia asked, grateful for the interruption. Lily held up a leather-bound journal. It was hidden behind some books on the top shelf. I think it belonged to Mrs. Bally. Ben's eyes widened, his hand reaching out instinctively. Where exactly did you find this? Olivia asked, taking the journal carefully. I was looking for a book on constellations for Ben, and I accidentally knocked some volumes loose, Lily explained. This fell out from behind them. Olivia opened the journal to find pages filled with elegant handwriting, the same handwriting she'd seen on the threatening note her first night at Whitecliff. But that was impossible. Catherine Bally had been gone for 3 years. The first entry was dated 5 years ago. April 15th, 2020. Something isn't right with the trial results. The adverse reactions are being systematically downplayed. I confronted Ethan about it, but he insisted everything is being reported properly. Vivian was there, contradicting everything I said, showing him corrected data. I don't trust her, never have, but Ethan does, and that terrifies me. Olivia's heart raced as she skimmed further entries. Catherine Bally had been recording her concerns about a drug trial at Bally Pharmaceuticals, a trial for a medication called Neurogen that had promised breakthrough treatment for degenerative nerve conditions. The same drug that had been rushed to market 5 years ago. The same drug that Olivia, as head nurse at Mercy General's pediatric ICU, had raised alarm bells about when young patients began showing unexpected side effects. The same drug that had cost Olivia her career when she tried to go public with her concerns. We should put this back, Olivia said quickly, closing the journal. It's private. But it was my mum's, Alex protested. We have a right to see it. Olivia hesitated, torn between protecting the boys from potentially painful revelations and acknowledging their connection to their mother's writings. Let me read through it first, she suggested. Then we can decide together what to do. Before either twin could object, the distant sound of car tires on gravel announced an arrival. Ben wrote hastily, "Hide it, now." Olivia slipped the journal into her uniform pocket just as Eleanor appeared at the door. Mr. Bally has returned with Miss Carter. Dinner will be served in 30 minutes. The boys should be dressed appropriately. Dinner that evening was a tense affair. Ethan sat at the head of the table with Vivian Carter to his right, a striking woman in her mid-40s with razor-sharp cheekbones and calculating green eyes. The twins were positioned at the far end, with Olivia standing unobtrusively nearby, ready to assist if needed. The Collins merger is finally complete, Ethan announced, raising a glass of wine. Bally Pharmaceuticals now has exclusive rights to develop their promising Alzheimer's pipeline. To continued success, Vivian toasted, her crimson lips curving into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her gaze drifted to Olivia, assessing and dismissive. You must be the new caregiver. Alan, was it? Olivia, Ethan corrected, not looking up from his meal. Olivia Brennan. Something flickered in Vivian's expression, recognition perhaps, or wariness. Brennan, that name sounds familiar. I've worked in healthcare for many years, Olivia offered neutrally. Vivian studied her for a moment longer, then turned her attention to the twins. Alexander, Benjamin, you're looking well. The physical therapy must be helping. It's Alex, the boy corrected coldly. And we're fine. No thanks to you asking. Alexander, Ethan's voice carried a warning. Apologize to Miss Carter. It's all right, Ethan, Vivian interjected smoothly. The boys have been through so much. We can't expect perfect manners. Ben's fork clattered loudly against his plate, his face flushing with anger at the condescension in her tone. Perhaps the boys should finish their dinner in their room, Vivian suggested, placing a manicured hand on Ethan's arm. We have so much to discuss about the merger, and they must be tired. To Olivia's dismay, Ethan nodded in agreement. Ms. Brennan, please take the boys upstairs. Dad, Alex protested. We're not babies. You can't just send us away whenever. She wants. Enough. Ethan's fist came down on the table, making the silverware jump. Go to your room now. As Olivia wheeled Ben toward the door, with Alex following reluctantly behind, she caught Vivian's satisfied smirk. Something about the woman's confidence, her proprietary air in Catherine's home, sent alarm bells ringing in Olivia's mind. Later that night, after settling the twins, Olivia retreated to her quarters where Lily was already asleep. She locked the door, then removed Catherine's journal from its hiding place. Page after page revealed Catherine's growing concern about neurogen side effects and the company's efforts to conceal them. As Catherine's suspicions grew, so did her investigation. She'd gathered data, spoken with researchers, even contacted patients, all while Vivian Carter worked to undermine her efforts and maintain Ethan's confidence. Then, Olivia found an entry that made her blood run cold. October 3rd, 2020, I've made. Contact with a nurse at Mercy General, who's noticed the same patterns I have. Her name is Olivia Brennan, and she's documented cases that mirror my findings exactly. We're meeting tomorrow to compare notes. If what she's experiencing with pediatric patients is consistent with my adult data, we'll have irrefutable evidence of Neurogen's dangers. Ethan will have to listen then. He'll have to see what Vivian has been hiding from him. Olivia's hands trembled as she remembered that meeting, Catherine Bally introducing herself under a pseudonym, sharing her concerns about a medication her husband's company produced. They had agreed to build a case together, to protect patients from a drug that was causing more harm than good. But the very next day, Olivia had been called into administration, accused of violating patient confidentiality, of seeking to damage Bally Pharmaceuticals' reputation without cause. She'd been fired, blacklisted, her credibility destroyed, and Catherine Bally had disappeared from her life as suddenly as she'd appeared. Until now. With growing dread, Olivia turned to the final entries in the journal. November 15th, 2020, Vivian knows. Somehow she found out about my meeting with Olivia Brennan. She's threatened to destroy Ethan, to take everything if I don't stop pursuing this. But how can I? People are being harmed. Children are being harmed. November 20th, 2020. I've confronted Ethan with everything. The falsified data, the suppressed reports, Vivian's manipulations. He seemed shocked, devastated. He promised to investigate, to make it right. I pray he's sincere. I pray Vivian hasn't poisoned him completely against me. November 22nd, 2020. Something's wrong. I'm dizzy, disoriented. Food poisoning perhaps, or stress. Ethan is concerned, wants to take me to the hospital, but I'm afraid. What if Vivian... The entry ended abruptly. The remaining pages were blank. Catherine Bally had been admitted to the hospital the next day. She had never left. Olivia closed the journal, her mind racing. According to Eleanor, Catherine had passed away 3 years ago, a year after these entries. What had happened in that missing year? And the twins' accident had occurred after their mother's death. How did it all connect? A soft knock at her door jolted Olivia from her thoughts. Heart pounding, she hid the journal under her mattress before opening the door a crack. Alfred stood in the hallway, his usually impassive face troubled. Ms. Brennan, I apologize for the late hour, but there's something you should know. What? Is it? Olivia asked, instinctively blocking the entrance to protect the sleeping Lily. Miss Carter was just on the phone with someone, Alfred said quietly. I wasn't eavesdropping intentionally, but I overheard your name. She was asking for information about your time at Mercy General Hospital. Olivia's blood ran cold. Did she say why? No, but she seemed urgent, and afterward she had a heated discussion with Mr. Bally about your employment here. Alfred hesitated, then added, I believe she wants you gone, Miss Brennan. Thank you for telling me, Alfred. After the butler left, Olivia stood in the darkness of her room, Catherine's journal burning a hole in her conscience. Coming to Whitecliff Manor had never been about a job. Not really. Deep down, she'd been drawn by the Bally name, by the possibility of understanding what had happened 5 years ago, of clearing her name. But now she understood she'd walked into something far more dangerous than she'd imagined. Something that had already claimed Catherine Bally's life. Something that had nearly claimed the twins. And something or someone who now had Olivia and Lily in their sights. She moved to the window, looking out at the moonlit gardens of Whitecliff Manor. Somewhere in the massive house, Vivian Carter was plotting, perhaps already setting in motion the mechanisms to remove Olivia from the equation, just as she had removed Catherine. But unlike Catherine, Olivia wasn't alone. She had Lily to protect, and now perhaps the twins as well. And she had something Catherine hadn't, the very journal that documented the beginning of the conspiracy that had destroyed both their lives. The question was whether it would be enough to expose the truth before history repeated itself in the silent, watchful halls of Whitecliff Manor. The following morning, Olivia awoke to the sound of raised voices coming from Ethan's study. Quickly dressing, she made her way down the corridor, pausing outside the heavy oak door that was slightly ajar. You can't be serious, Ethan. Vivian's voice was sharp with disbelief. Do you have any idea who she is? What she tried to do to our company? I'm well aware of Miss Brennan's history, Ethan replied, his tone measured but tense. But the boys have made more progress with her in 1 month than with all the previous caregivers combined. Alex is engaging again. Ben is communicating, even if only through writing. And you don't find that suspicious, Vivian countered. This woman, who once tried to publicly accuse Bally Pharmaceuticals of negligence, just happens to apply for a position in your home, with access to your children, your private files? There was a moment of silence before Ethan spoke again, his voice lower. What exactly are you implying, Vivian? She's working with someone, perhaps a journalist, maybe even that blogger who's been investigating pharmaceutical cover-ups, Rebecca Chen. Olivia's breath caught. Rebecca Chen was indeed a healthcare journalist known for exposing corruption in the medical industry, but Olivia had never met her, let alone conspired with her. I'll handle Ms. Brennan, Ethan said finally, but I won't disrupt the boys' care without concrete evidence of misconduct. You're making a mistake, Vivian warned, one that could cost us everything we've built. Olivia retreated quietly, her mind racing. Vivian clearly saw her as a threat, but Ethan's reluctance to dismiss her outright suggested he wasn't entirely under his business partner's influence. This was both reassuring and concerning. If Ethan began investigating her past more thoroughly, how long before he discovered her connection to Catherine? The day proceeded with a tense normalcy. Olivia supervised the twins' physical therapy session, noting with pride how Alex now had almost full range of motion in his upper body. Ben, though physically progressing more slowly, remained diligent in his exercises, his determination evident in the focused set of his jaw. During lunch, Lily joined them in the sunroom, her presence brightening the somber mood that had settled over the house. I was thinking we could have a movie night, she suggested. Ben showed me the home theater room yesterday. It's amazing. Alex, who had been gradually warming to Lily's persistent friendliness, shrugged. Dad never lets us use it. Says it's too expensive to replace if something breaks. Well, your dad's not here right now, Olivia pointed out, making a spontaneous decision, and I think you both deserve a treat after how hard you've been working. The boys exchanged surprised glances, a silent communication passing between them that Olivia had noticed happened frequently, as if their twin bond allowed conversations without words. Really? Alex asked, suspicion and hope warring in his. Really, Olivia confirmed. Tonight after dinner, you can each pick a movie. Ben's face lit up with a rare smile, and he reached for his notepad. Can Lily choose one too? Of course, Olivia agreed, touched by his thoughtfulness. As she helped clear the lunch dishes, Alfred appeared at her elbow. A moment, Miss Brennan. He led her to a quiet corner of the kitchen. Mr. Bally asked me to inform you that a representative from Social Services will be visiting tomorrow. Apparently there's been a concern raised about your qualifications to care for the young masters. Olivia's stomach dropped. A concern from whom? Alfred's expression remained carefully neutral. That wasn't specified, but Miss Carter did place several calls this morning. I see, Olivia replied, struggling to keep her voice steady. Thank you for letting me know. Vivian was moving faster than expected, attempting to discredit Olivia professionally before she could take whatever action the woman feared. But what exactly did Vivian think Olivia knew or was planning to do? That afternoon, while the boys were with their tutor, Olivia slipped back to her quarters to retrieve Catherine's journal. She needed to find concrete evidence of Bally Pharmaceuticals' wrongdoing, something that couldn't be dismissed as the bitter accusations of a disgraced nurse. As she reached under her mattress, her blood ran cold. The journal was gone. Frantically, she searched the room, checking every possible hiding place. Nothing. A soft knock at the door made her freeze. "Mom?" Lily called. "Are you in there?" Olivia opened the door to find her daughter looking worried. "What's wrong, honey?" "There's a woman going through your things in the twins' room," Lily whispered. "I saw her when I went to return Ben's. The book. She didn't see me." Olivia's heart pounded. "Stay here, lock the door behind me." Moving swiftly but quietly through the corridor, Olivia approached the twins' bedroom. Through the partially open door, she could see Vivian Carter methodically searching through a cabinet where Olivia kept the boys' medical supplies and her personal nursing kit. "Can I help you find something, Miss Carter?" Olivia asked coolly, stepping into the room. Vivian straightened, her momentary surprise quickly masked by a practiced smile. "Ms. Brennan, I was just checking that the boys' medications are being properly administered." "That's not necessary," Olivia replied, moving to stand between Vivian and the cabinet. "I maintain detailed records of all treatments and medications, which I review with their physician weekly." "Yes, I'm sure you're very thorough," Vivian said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Ethan mentioned you were once a nurse at Mercy General, pediatric ICU, wasn't it, before that unfortunate incident?" The threat behind her words was unmistakable. "I always put my patients' well-being first," Olivia stated firmly, then and now. "Admirable," Vivian replied, retrieving her designer handbag from the bed. "Though sometimes misguided loyalty can be destructive to careers, to families." She moved toward the door, then paused. "I'd hate to see history repeat itself, Miss Brennan, especially with your daughter involved this time." After Vivian left, Olivia leaned against the wall, struggling to control her breathing. The mention of Lily was a clear threat, and the missing journal meant Vivian was now one step ahead. Or was she? Olivia suddenly remembered Lily's fascination with the journal when they'd first discovered it. Could she have taken it? Returning to their quarters, she found Lily sitting on her bed, eyes wide with worry. "Was it Miss Carter?" she asked immediately. "Yes. But she's gone now," Olivia assured her. "Lily, did you take Mrs. Bally's journal from under my mattress?" Lily bit her lip, then nodded. "Last night. You seemed scared, and I wanted to see what was in it that made you so worried." She reached under her own pillow and pulled out the leather-bound book. "I'm sorry, Mom." Relief flooded through Olivia. "It's okay, honey, but this journal is dangerous. The information in it, about the drug that hurt people, about how Ms. Carter and Mr. Bally covered it up." Lily's expression was solemn. "I read it all, and I showed it to Ben and Alex this morning." "You what?" Olivia gasped. "They deserved to know the truth about their mom," Lily insisted. "Ben said he always suspected something wasn't right about how she got sick. And Alex, he cried. Mom, I've never seen him cry before." Olivia sat heavily on the bed, the implications sinking in. "Where are the boys now?" "In the library with their tutor. But they're planning something," Alex said they need to make their dad see the truth about Ms. Carter and about what really happened to them. What happened to them? Did they tell you about the accident? Lily's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't an accident. Ben wrote it all down. After their mom died, they found some of her notes about Neurogen. They confronted their dad, but Ms. Carter was there. She said they were lying, that their mom had mental problems at the end. There was a big fight, and they ran away in their dad's car. They weren't used to driving and crashed into a tree. Olivia's heart broke for the twins, understanding now the complexity of their trauma. Not just physical, but emotional betrayal. At the deepest level. We need to find them, she said, standing up, before they confront Ethan or Vivian with the journal. But they were too late. As Olivia and Lily hurried toward the library, Alfred intercepted them, his normally composed face taut with concern. Ms. Brennan, you're needed in Mr. Bally's study immediately. The young masters are quite distressed. The scene in Ethan's study was chaos. Alex had somehow overturned a small table, sending documents scattering across the floor. Ben sat rigidly in his wheelchair, Catherine's journal, open in his lap, while Ethan stood pale-faced behind his desk. Vivian was notably absent. You knew, Alex shouted as Olivia entered. You knew what she did to Mom and you protected her anyway. Alexander, please, Ethan begged, his usual authoritative demeanor crumbling. It wasn't like that. Your mother was ill. She was poisoned. Alex hurled the accusation like a physical blow. Mum's journal says she suspected someone was making her sick, after she confronted you about the Neurogen cover-up, after she met with Ms. Brennan. Ethan's gaze snapped to Olivia, realization dawning in his eyes. You're that nurse, he whispered, the one Catherine mentioned. Olivia stepped forward, placing a steadying hand on Alex's shoulder. Yes, I met with your wife once, 5 years ago. We were both concerned about side effects we'd observed with Neurogen patients. The next day I was fired for alleged breaches of confidentiality. I never saw Catherine again. Dad, tell the truth, Alex demanded, his young voice breaking. Did Miss Carter hurt Mom? Did you let her? Ethan sank into his chair, the weight of the moment visibly crushing him. I didn't know, he murmured. I swear to you both. I didn't. No. Vivian said Catherine was having delusions, that the stress of my work and her own research was affecting her mental health. The doctors confirmed she had neurological symptoms. Symptoms? That matched Neurogen toxicity, Olivia pointed out quietly. Ben suddenly began making choking sounds, his face turning red as he struggled to breathe. Olivia rushed to his side, recognizing the onset of a severe panic attack, something she'd seen him experience before when overwhelmed. Ben, focus on me, she instructed calmly, kneeling before him. Breathe with me, in through your nose, out through your mouth. But Ben's distress intensified, his oxygen levels visibly dropping as his lips took on a bluish tinge. Alex wheeled closer, gripping his twin's hand. Ben, don't do this! Olivia's nursing instincts took over. Alfred, get his emergency kit from the medicine cabinet in their bathroom. Hurry! As Alfred rushed out, Lily moved to Ben's other side, her voice gentle and steady. Ben, remember the constellations we talked about? The hunter and the bear. Focus on those stars, on how they move through the sky. To everyone's surprise, Ben's eyes fixed on Lily's face, his breathing slowing marginally as he concentrated on her words. That's it, she encouraged. Picture the stars. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3. By the time Alfred returned with the emergency medication, Ben's breathing had stabilized enough that Olivia determined he wouldn't need the injection. She monitored his pulse, noting with relief that it was returning to normal. He responded to you? Ethan observed, looking at Lily with wonder. He's never come back from an attack that severe without medication. Lily has a special way with Ben, Olivia acknowledged, pride in her voice. With both boys, actually. In the momentary calm, Alex looked down at the journal still clutched in Ben's lap. We deserve the truth, Dad. All of it. Ethan nodded slowly, defeat and determination warring in his expression. Yes, you do. He moved to a painting on the wall, a landscape of Whitecliff Manor in earlier, happier days, and swung it aside to reveal a wall safe. After entering the combination, he withdrew a thick file. Catherine kept records of everything, he explained, placing the file on his desk. Patient reports, lab data, internal emails about Neurogen. I found them after she was gone. I couldn't bear to look at them then. It was easier to believe what Vivian told me, that Catherine had become paranoid, that her accusations were symptoms of her condition. "And now?" Olivia prompted. "Now I see what I've done," Ethan replied, his voice hollow. "To Catherine's memory, to you, Ms. Brennan, to my sons." He opened the file, revealing meticulously organized documentation of Neurogen's adverse effects, effects that matched exactly what Olivia had observed in her patients years ago. A commotion in the hallway interrupted the moment. Eleanor appeared at the doorway, her face ashen. "Mr. Bally, Miss Carter is demanding to see you. She's threatening to call the police, saying Miss Brennan has stolen company documents." Ethan straightened, a resolve settling over him that Olivia hadn't seen before. "Show her in, Eleanor. It's time to end this." What followed was the confrontation that had been building for 5 years. Vivian entered like a storm, her composure fracturing when she saw Catherine's journal and file of evidence laid bare on Ethan's desk. "You don't understand what you're doing," she hissed, her carefully cultivated image slipping to reveal the desperation beneath. "That data is incomplete, taken out of context. Catherine was ill, Ethan. You know this." "Was she?" Ethan challenged, his voice gaining strength. "Or did you make her that way, when she threatened to expose what Neurogen was doing to patients, when she found a nurse who could corroborate her findings?" Vivian's eyes darted to Olivia, hatred flashing in their depths. "You were supposed to be discredited. Ruined. How did you even find your way here?" "I didn't," Olivia replied honestly. "I saw a job posting for a caregiver position with medical training. I needed work. It wasn't until I arrived that I realized whose house this was." "A coincidence?" Vivian scoffed. "How you expect me to believe that?" "No," came a new voice, soft but clear. Everyone turned in shock to see Ben speaking audibly for the first time since the accident. "Not coincidence, Mom." Alex gaped at his twin. "Ben?" Ben swallowed hard, the effort of speaking clearly taxing after years of silence. "Mom's journal. Last page. Hidden message." With trembling hands, Ethan turned to the final pages of Catherine's journal, the ones Olivia had thought were blank. Holding the page at an angle to the light, faint indentations became visible, words pressed into the paper with the last of Catherine's strength. "If anything happens to me, find Olivia Brennan. Show her this journal. Trust her with our boys." She knew, Olivia whispered, understanding flooding through her. Somehow she knew she wouldn't survive to expose the truth. Herself. "This is preposterous," Vivian sputtered, backing toward the door. "You have no proof of any wrongdoing. Catherine was mentally unstable at the end. Everyone at the hospital confirmed it." "Did they?" Ethan questioned, a dangerous edge to his voice. "Or were they paid to say that, just like the researchers who altered the Neurogen data, just like the board members who rushed its approval despite warning signs?" He pulled out his phone, pressing a single button. "Security. Please escort Ms. Carter from the premises. She is no longer welcome at Whitecliff Manor. And contact my lawyer. Tell him it's urgent." Vivian's face contorted with fury. "You're making a terrible mistake, Ethan. I built Bally Pharmaceuticals with you. Without me, you're nothing." "Without Catherine and my sons, I already was nothing," Ethan replied, the truth of his words visible in his haunted eyes. "I just didn't realize it until now." As security arrived to remove a still protesting Vivian, Ethan turned to Olivia, Ben, Alex, and Lily, who had witnessed the entire confrontation with wide eyes. "I owe all of you an apology, especially you, Ms. Brennan. Your career, your reputation can be restored," Olivia finished for him. "But more importantly, your boys need their father, really need him, not just his physical presence in the house." Ethan nodded, moving to kneel between his sons' wheelchairs. "I've been absent even when I was here," he acknowledged, taking one of each twin's hands in his own. "I buried myself in work rather than face the truth about your mother, about my own complicity through inaction. I'm so sorry." Alex's expression remained guarded, years of emotional distance not easily overcome. "You believed her over Mom, over us. "I did," Ethan admitted. "And that's something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. But if you'll give me the chance, I want to make it right, starting with making sure everyone knows the truth about what happened to your mother." Ben reached out hesitantly, touching his father's face. "Mum would want us to forgive you," he said, each word a victory over his self-imposed silence. The weeks that followed transformed Whitecliff Manor. Ethan took a leave of absence from Bally Pharmaceuticals to focus on his family and to cooperate with authorities investigating Neurogen's approval process. The evidence Catherine had compiled, combined with Olivia's testimony and patient records, led to a massive recall of the drug and multiple indictments. Vivian Carter faced criminal charges for fraud, obstruction of justice, and, most seriously, evidence tampering that had contributed to Catherine's misdiagnosis and inappropriate treatment. The truth about Catherine's condition emerged. She had been experiencing neurological symptoms consistent with neurogen toxicity, symptoms that had been deliberately misattributed to mental illness. For the twins, the path to healing took on new dimensions. Ben's voice returned gradually, strengthening with daily speech therapy and the constant encouragement of Lily, who had become his closest friend. Alex's anger slowly transformed into purposeful energy, driving his physical therapy to new heights. As he worked toward his stated goal of walking into the courtroom when they sentenced Vivian, and for Olivia, vindication came in the form of a formal apology from Mercy General Hospital, a substantial settlement for wrongful termination, and the restoration of her nursing license. But more meaningful than any of these was the role she'd come to play in the lives of the Bally family. One evening, as summer painted the gardens of Whitecliff Manor in gold, Ethan found Olivia sitting alone on the terrace, watching Lily and the twins playing chess on the lawn below. "You've changed everything," he said simply, taking the seat beside her. "This house, my sons, me." Olivia smiled, the weight of the past finally lifting from her shoulders. "Catherine changed everything," she corrected gently. "I just helped finish what she started." Ethan's hand found hers, a tentative gesture that held the promise of something neither of them had expected to find in the aftermath of so much pain. "Stay," he said softly, "not as the boy's caregiver, but as part of whatever this family is becoming." In the garden below, Ben said something that made Lily laugh, the sound carrying on the evening breeze. Alex, watching them, wore an expression not of jealousy, but of contented acceptance. The walls that had separated the twins were dissolving, allowing each to find his own path while maintaining the bond that had sustained them through their darkest days. "Yes," Olivia replied, her heart full as she watched their children, for that's what they had become somehow against all odds, embrace the future together. "I think we'd like that very much." The sun set over Whitecliff Manor, bathing the once cold stone in warm light. Where silence had reigned, laughter now echoed. Where secrets had festered, truth brought healing. And where a family had been shattered by lies and betrayal, a new kind of family was being born, one built not on obligation or appearance, but on understanding, forgiveness, and love freely given. In Catherine Bally's journal, tucked safely away in Ethan's study, the final entry remained a testament to a mother's last wish fulfilled, that her sons would find their voices again, that the truth would emerge from darkness, and that those she left behind would discover in each other the healing they all desperately needed. A healing that had begun the moment Olivia Brennan had driven through the gates of Whitecliff Manor, not by coincidence, but by design, the final, magnificent design of a woman who had known that sometimes family is not what you're born into, but what you build from the broken pieces of the past. Dear listeners, we hope that Olivia and the Bally family's journey of healing and truth has touched your hearts. Their story reminds us that sometimes the families we create are as powerful as those we're born into, and that courage can transform even the darkest circumstances. If this tale of resilience moved you, please consider subscribing to our channel and giving this video a thumbs up. We bring you new, emotionally rich stories like this one every day, exploring the complexity of human relationships and the power of forgiveness. The next chapter in our series of compelling narratives awaits you. Don't miss it. We're looking forward to reading your thoughts and reactions in the comments section below.